Brilliant. So, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to our webinar on Wednesday afternoon. Happy Wednesday, halfway through the week. So this is going to be quite a high level presentation on understanding your social media platforms. So don't expect anything too complicated from this session. This really is just what platforms are available to you, a bit about them and how we would like you to use them and how you can use them. So yeah, my name is Beth Churcher. I'm marketing manager for United Learning Group. It's really nice to be talking to some schools today. So thank you for joining us. Sophie, if we could have next slide, please. So just some general tips. So we just wanted to highlight some of our top tips for you. So videos are proven to get more engagement on social media. Don't worry, not every post needs to be a video. We know that you don't have time for that always, but they are proven to get more engagement. When you scroll down in your feed, even on your personal social media, videos will automatically begin. So we would suggest that you have a play around with videos, try and use them as content and try and mix up your content a little bit by using them. The recommended number of hashtags. So if you don't know what a hashtag is, hashtags are a great tool for you to have visibility from wider than your own network. So we suggest that you have a hashtag for your school or your project or whatever you're working on, but this should have a hashtag, at least one. And then what that means is that you can push that out there that you're using a hashtag. So parents, the community, they can go on social media, type in that hashtag, and everything that's ever been posted with that hashtag can be found on the search feed. So it's a really handy tool to have. You don't just need to use one for your school. You can also say hashtag education, hashtag teaching, hashtag maths, for example. And we suggest that you stick to one that you repeat, like I said, one for your school, and then around 5 to 10 other hashtags, depending on which platform you're using. Our third tip is to respond to any interactions if possible. Now, I'm quite passionate about social media, hence why I'm doing this chat today. Social media is free marketing. It is your way to give your school a personality. So a lot of people will have a look online and they just want to find out a bit more about you in a less formal way than going on your website. And you can do that through your social media. So when people interact with you, you should be responding to those interactions when you can. So even if it is a smiley face or a thank you, or you're responding to a question, the more you interact with posts, the way that social media algorithm works means that that will give you more engagement on your posts. It means that your post will show up more on other feeds, and on some social media platforms, it means that you'll then be seen elsewhere. For example, if you like someone's post on LinkedIn, somebody in your network could then like it, and then somebody in their network will see it even if they don't follow you. So make sure you're interacting where possible. The next tip is take advantage of seasonal content. Now, we've got a marketing activity calendar, which we're going to make sure you all receive after this call if you haven't seen it already. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to think of content. People think content creation is really, really easy and simple, and sometimes it just isn't. And we're all really, really busy. So thinking of things to do, things to say can be difficult. So take advantage of the seasons. For example, we just had Halloween. There's lots of different content opportunities for Halloween. Christmas is coming up. There's plenty of things you can be doing, showing off all the fantastic festive themed work that's going on at your school, talking about Christmas, asking questions about Christmas. You can use the seasons and different days of the year, for example, national days, to create content for your social media. Another tip is to try and end posts with a call to action where possible. So if you can say click on this link, for example, if you're writing an article for your website about something that is fantastic that's going on at your school, make sure you're sharing that on social media. Don't just put it up on your webpage. Put a post up about it on your social media, link to that article and say click here. If it's an open day, make sure you're linking, but not in the Instagram caption. You can't put links in Instagram captions, but make sure you're linking to things and getting people to click on things and asking them to do something. Even if, for example, you're asking a question on social media, you're asking for a response. So that is a good way to get engagement with your posts. And then lastly, make sure you stick to our brand guidelines when it comes to colours and fonts so that your content looks neat and succinct. We are all part of United Learning. So if you're not aware of those brand guidelines, please just drop us a message and we can get those over to you so that all your posts will look neat. It is really important on social media that everything looks like it's supposed to be in one place. You can, especially with Instagram, you can notice on a feed a mile off when it is not all succinct and neat. So just have a think about that one as well. Next slide, please. So first of all, I'm going to go in and talk a bit about Instagram. So Instagram has a really large parent community, also a student community as well. It's probably one of the most popular platforms for students, and its users are mostly between 24 and 35 years old. About 46% of the UK population actively use Instagram. So often when they're looking to visit the school, or even if anyone's just looking at an organisation, often they will look you up on social media, and Instagram is one of those to see what you're up to and what you're doing. So it's really, really important, if you can, to make sure you're visible on these platforms. Now, Instagram is all about how things look, so make sure the images you're using are of high quality and they're not pixelated. So, for example, if you're a school that uses iPads and you're taking photos on iPads a lot, you're going to need to go into an app and up the structure in the editing section of that app, just to make the picture look a bit clearer, because Instagram will, because of its algorithm, push your post down if it doesn't deem them to be a high enough quality. So if you do have something like a school camera, I'd suggest you use this. It would be more beneficial for you to use good photography, natural photography. So it doesn't have to be a professional photographer or anything like that, but good photography rather than pixelated imagery. You'd be better off posting nothing if you haven't got a good enough quality picture. And the audience on Instagram react better to nice pictures rather than posts covered in text. So if you have a flyer, for example, for an open day, that's absolutely fine. If it says sign up now, but do not put big blocks of text unless it's something, for example, on our United Learning page that's very, very new. We've only just began the page, but we will, for example, maybe put a quote on there or something, but do not put a text with an image with lots and lots of text on it. We prefer you to stick to using that for the caption of the picture. Twitter we'll get onto, but obviously the word count is less. But on things like Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, you have a much wider range of characters you can use, and I suggest you do use them if you need to and if you can. Instagram is a great platform to show off your creativity. So make use of things like stories, polls, and the stickers on stories to boost engagement. Again, I'm going to keep saying this word algorithm, but on Instagram, if you're doing a post and you've put that out there, you should click on the little arrow button that sends it straight to your story and put click now or new post, click on this. That will again encourage people to have a call to action, make people click on that post. More people are likely to watch your story on Instagram, even people that don't follow you, more people are likely to watch your story than they are to interact with your posts. You will find that hundreds of people sometimes will watch your story, but you may get 10 likes on a post. So people are watching, so stories are key. And on stories, you can use what are called stickers. So on the stickers, you can ask questions and do things like polls. And the more people interact with these polls, the more engagement you will get and the more it will boost your up on people's algorithm and the way that social media works. So if you wanted to ask a question and see people's opinions, for example, what do you prefer we post, student content or informational content? You can ask people, you can directly go to your audience and say, what do you want to see? And then you get those answers, and then you can use that to start posting more of what they want to see. So I suggest you play around with that. If you have the capacity and the skills, try making reels. Now, this goes back to videos. Reels are the highest engaged thing on Instagram. They are short videos usually, and you can do really fun things. And lots of students, if they obviously have permission, sometimes want to get involved with this as well, which is really interesting because they are probably used to seeing reels too. But you can do a day in the life of a year 6 student or a day in the life of a sixth form student. And it's very quick and snappy content. You can use it to show off your school, the classrooms, the grounds, anything you want to. But reels, I did a reel for a school a few months ago, and it got 16,000 engagements overnight in one night. And it goes back to me saying that not everything will get lots and lots of likes all the time, but people will watch and people will click on it. So the more you're doing these things, the more likely you are to build a committed following, an audience that want to see and are really invested in seeing what you're posting. Next slide, please. So now we're going to talk about Twitter. So on Twitter, you'll find a mixture of users. A large percentage of your audience may be parents, but remember that there will be other users on Twitter as well who will be following you or are likely to see things. About 23% of the UK's population actively use Twitter, and the age group that uses Twitter most is between 18 and 29. It's often used politically, but it's also viewed as a quick news platform. So you may have seen recently that Twitter's been in the news a lot with Elon Musk. So we are actively keeping an eye on that situation. We know that most schools use Twitter as their main platform. So there's no immediate action to do. Do not worry for now. Most of your following will be people that know the school, parents. So for now, absolutely fine. But if you have any questions about Twitter and the situation regarding Twitter, please do get in touch with us at Central Office. We're keeping a really close eye on things. But for now, business as usual with Twitter. So like I said, for a lot of schools, it is the main social media platform. And that's mainly due to the fact that it's a short, snappy pieces. So it's only got 280 word limit. But you can use threads to communicate longer messages. So for example, if you had something bigger you wanted to say, you could post one tweet, and then all you do simply is reply to yourself on that tweet and keep doing that until you have a long thread. And then what people do is they click on the top one, scroll down, and they'll see everything you've had to say. I wouldn't suggest doing this all the time, but it is really good when you have a longer piece of text that you need to put out there if Twitter is your main platform. On Twitter, you can use images, videos, and GIFs. GIFs can be really effective on most social media platforms. And like I said, you know, obviously we're formal, we're professional people, and it is a formal platform, but it is a place where you can be a bit more creative and show off your personality a bit. So as long as it's appropriate, you can use GIFs. That's absolutely fine. But like I said, where appropriate. And Twitter, yeah, just be a little bit careful with what you're using them for. But absolutely, if you'd like to be more creative, we absolutely suggest that you do have a go at doing that. Next slide, please. Facebook. So I think most of our schools are on Facebook. Facebook is where you'll find most of your school's parents. So the age demographic is typically between 18 and 54, but it's a lot of the parents' age group, and even grandparents will be on Facebook as well. And the highest percentage is 25 to 44. 66% of the population actively use Facebook. And it's also the best platform for hosting events, as you can create them directly from your page with the event details, and you can track the event numbers and sign-ups there as well. It's really handy for advertising social and open days and any other event that you've got going on. So I'd suggest, if you haven't already, you have a look at doing that. It also has the option of going live. We wouldn't recommend going live unless for a specific reason, such as to a private group of prospective parents. So just bear that in mind. And if you have room in your budget, you can make use of Facebook ads or boost your post to maximize engagement, especially when advertising things like open days. They can be really, really handy for those. And once you boost them, they will then go out to the communities. The way the algorithm works is networks upon networks. It will then, like a spider web, reach lots of people within those areas that you've targeted. So definitely, if you have money within your budget, do look at Facebook ads as well. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about some other social media platforms. So LinkedIn. LinkedIn is typically used by professionals looking for new careers or to shout about their current ones. So it's not really always necessary to use it as a school, but you could use LinkedIn if you're advertising, for example, a careers fair or career opportunities at your school. but we do recommend you have a LinkedIn account to claim your school's name so that no imitation accounts can be made. And we recommend this for every social media platform. Get that real estate. Even if you're not actively using that account, please make sure that your school is registered to those accounts. Because once somebody's made a fake account, there isn't much you can do about that, and they can say anything they want to say. So if you take anything away from today, please let it be that point. YouTube. So you should use YouTube for any bigger video projects you have. We recommend you use it as a publishing tool for longer videos rather than shorter videos. But we do suggest that you mainly stick to a shorter format if possible, and stick to the other platforms where your engagement will be a lot higher than YouTube. You can use YouTube videos and then shorten them down and edit them and make clips of them for other social media platforms. But we suggest that for your main content, you use other social platforms for those, mainly because as great as YouTube is, that is just not where the community will be. They will be on your other social media platforms. Snapchat. So we don't advise you to use Snapchat as a social media platform. Snapchat is known for its inappropriate format. So it sends videos and pictures as a form of communication rather than text. You can speak in text, but it's more of a private messaging platform. So it's not really appropriate for schools. And also content times out after 24 hours. There could potentially be a lack of accountability for what's posted, so you should avoid it. But as I said, please make sure you claim an account for your school, because people can make fake ones and say lots of different things, and the security at Snapchat, and again in a moment when I talk about TikTok, the security isn't great. So if something like that did happen, getting it removed is nearly impossible. Next platform, next slide, sorry, please. Okay, TikTok. So we don't advise schools to use TikTok due to its unpredictable algorithm, and it's also known to have a lack of child safety within the platform. This is something we will continue to monitor at head office. It can be a great tool for marketing, but it's not really appropriate in an educational context. We do, however, again, suggest please create a TikTok with your school's name and logo so that nobody can imitate you. This can cause GDPR issues, and we can't do much about it once it's been made, because security itself within these platforms is very, very thin. So yeah, just worth bearing that one in mind. Next slide, please. Scheduling tools. So we would suggest that you make the most of free scheduling tools. Scheduling tools give you the freedom to pre-plan your content and schedule it so that you can forget about it once it's done. It will save you a lot of time and means that you can easily pre-plan and schedule content to go out over the school holiday periods, even if employees aren't physically in the office. So obviously a lot of people have time off over the holidays, and obviously that's great and we all encourage that. But one thing that will happen, and that you will notice if you're monitoring your analytics, is the moment you stop posting during the holidays, your algorithm will go down. The moment people stop engaging with you, which is when you're not posting, it's really hard to get that engagement back once you come back and start posting again. So if you can pre-plan that content and schedule it using a scheduling tool, that will automatically come out whilst you're on your holiday. You don't need to think about it, but you're still engaging with your community of committed followers. So we really suggest you use scheduling tools, or at least try to consider them. There are free ones online, such as Hootsuite, and we've listed some here. You will get this slide pack after this meeting, but we suggest that you look into those. Some of them you have to pay for, and some of them get extra features for you to basically look up your analytics when you use them. But yeah, just have a look, and we suggest that you do that. Next slide, please. Tracking metrics. So as I said, scheduling gives you the opportunity to monitor the analytics and metrics of your posts so that you can make changes if necessary. So posting on social media isn't all about posting on social media. We want to do it for a reason. We want to know what people want to see, what they're engaging with and what they're not engaging with. So each platform can show you this independently, but some platforms won't let you go back a certain amount of time, etc. So we do suggest you use one of those scheduling tools to be able to look long term at your analytics. So by going into each platform's menu, you can view the post performance, and it would be beneficial to keep a record of this. You can do this in a simple Excel spreadsheet. And we've listed some of the things that we would expect to see in there. For example, when you posted it, brief notes of what the post was, the engagement rate and the click-through rate, the impressions and the engagements themselves. And we also suggest you put a notes section on there. So for example, if you looked back 6 months ago at what posts were doing well and what weren't, and you saw a massive drop in your analytics, there could be a reason for that, but you might not know if you hadn't put it in your notes. For example, when Her Majesty the Queen died, we all would have had a massive drop in our engagement because we had a social media blackout. And then obviously, as I said, when you pick back up, it's hard to get that engagement back going. So what we did in our central office Excel spreadsheet was put a note to remind us, this is what happened. We were quiet for 2 weeks, and that is why there may be a slow pickup in engagement after that. So it's worth having a note section just to keep track of what is going on and what's doing well and what isn't. And by recording these, you'll see patterns which will inform you on what is doing well and what's not, and what your audience prefer to see. So if you're finding that you're getting a lot of engagement on a certain subject, or they like to see videos or fun things that are going on, or they love to see what the children are doing, extracurricular activities, you know, okay, we need to make sure once a week we're posting about extracurricular activities because our audience really like it, or they're really following this and they're clicking on that. When we look at our analytics, they're clicking from our Instagram a lot. So we need to make sure that we're posting our links all the time in our stories. So just monitor those things and you'll start to see trends. Next slide, please. So we just wanted to give you some brief examples here. This reminded me a little bit of a passport photo, and there's a cross and a tick. So on the left is something that is United Learning branding. So the colours we'd expect to see, a clear photo. Obviously, it hasn't got a high level detail in there, but we'd expect to see something neat and tidy, such as that picture. And feel free to use emojis in your text. So if you can look and the writing's not too small, you can see that we've used emojis. I'm absolutely fine with schools using emojis or any of the platforms. I think it is, like I said, it's a way for us to have a personality and have a bit of fun with our marketing, which we're not really able to do anywhere else. So as long as it's appropriate, I absolutely encourage it. Because if you're scrolling through your phone with your thumb and something catches your eye, it's more likely to be something that is fun looking rather than a blank piece of text. So just bear in mind how things look and how things feel when you're writing for social media, but we will be doing another webinar on that in a few weeks. So I won't get into that today. And then on the right hand side, of course, is a bad example. So it's not United Learning colours, the pictures are pixelated and stretched, and the text is boring, the grammar is not correct, and it's just nothing that really stands out about it. So those are a few examples for you. Next slide, please. So we're coming to an end now. As I said, really high level information just about each platform. But if you would like to and you want to do some optional homework, we just suggest that you create a hashtag for your school if you haven't got one already. Obviously, you need to start using this over time, but eventually, if you look back in a year's time and you put the hashtag into each social media platform, you'll see all the fantastic things that have been done and posted with that hashtag. So encourage your school and your teachers to use it. Encourage everyone to use it when they're posting about the school in a positive way, because it will be a great gallery for you to be able to look back on. And it will also be something that you can pull content from if you need to. The second piece of homework would be to explore Instagram stories. Now, a lot of schools post on Instagram, which is fantastic. But as I mentioned earlier, stories get a lot of viewership. So make sure you're experimenting with them and you have a look at what stickers there are to offer. There's many things you can do on a story, but at a bare minimum, every time you post on Instagram, you should be sharing that post to your story to encourage people to click on it. And then make sure you have a placeholder account for each platform. I know I keep harping on about it, but you need to make sure your school has space on each platform, even if it's not being used. We absolutely know that you've only got a certain amount of time. We're not expecting you to be professionals at every single platform and have endless amounts of time, because who has time for that when you work in education? But just make sure you have a platform there so that no one can steal your identity and create one, because it is near on impossible to get them removed. So one thing to bear in mind. Next slide, please. So to conclude, social media is giving a live face to your school. Make sure people resonate with your personality. You don't need, it doesn't need to be stuffy. You can have fun with it. And we really encourage that. We're humans. I'm always talking about P2P marketing, people to people. We're all people. No matter what we do, people want to engage with people. So yeah, be fun, be engaging, be informational, but that is your way that you can do that. And it's free. Make sure you're using it correctly and intentionally, but again, have fun with it. That's what it's there for, but it is free. So yeah, the possibilities, I'd like to say, are endless, but of course they're not. But there are fantastic possibilities for social media. So please, hopefully you got something from this. So please go away, explore, have fun, and we can't wait to see what you come up with. Thank you. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
So we do have some questions. Thank you so much, Beth. That was really, really informative. So I think the answer to this will be personal preference, but one of the questions was, we use Vimeo rather than YouTube for hosting videos. They do have a YouTube account, but they don't use it. Would you recommend switching accounts? I think it's down to personal preference, as long as it's a video platform that can hold longer videos and is accessible. But I just want to hear what my other colleagues think.
No, absolutely. Vimeo is absolutely fine. If you're already established on Vimeo and it works for you, please continue to use Vimeo. As I said, YouTube is quite secondary. It's we can use other platforms for video content. The sorts of things you're putting on Vimeo are less likely to be on social media anyway, unless you're cutting them down, probably for different reasons that you're using it for potentially. But no, feel free to keep what you're happy with and what you're comfortable using. Absolutely, that's fine.
Brilliant, thank you. And then there were just some other suggestions around kind of scheduling tools, which is really great. So I'll just say them so that anyone else watching this back knows. So Meta Business Suite, if you have a Facebook and Instagram, if you connect your accounts, you're able to schedule on there. And through TweetDeck as well, I think you can use your kind of scheduling tool. Obviously, the scheduling tools that Beth spoke about allow you to put all of your platforms into one, which sometimes for busy marketing staff can be much more kind of resourceful. But obviously, if you don't have the capacity to get those scheduling tools, then there are some free ones with the accounts that you're already using. Somebody else just said, how many Twitter accounts do you recommend? We have a lot, but don't use them all. I'm assuming this is one school account, a careers account, other accounts for subjects, things like that.
In my experience, if you're not using them all, I would suggest not keep creating more accounts. I think it's absolutely commendable that lots of teachers and people in education want to create accounts and want to shout about what they're doing. And it's absolutely fine if there is genuine great content coming from that account. But from a marketing perspective, it can get a little bit messy. It can also get confusing when parents, for example, are trying to find you and they're seeing lots of different accounts that aren't aligned. So just bear that in mind. I think if you've got really great content that you want to be posting out on other platforms, not other platforms, other accounts, unless it's a very defined area such as careers, or it's like primary, secondary, sixth form, I think you should be putting it out for your main account. If it's something that's so fantastic that you want to post about on social media, why not post about it from your main school account? The more you're posting, the more engagement you're going to get.
Thank you. So there's another two questions. So as you can't put links in Insta captions, what would you recommend as a call to action? I'm saying visit our website with the URL in our profile. Is this the right thing to do?
So what you can do is you can use something called Linktree. Linktree is, so in your bio on your main Instagram account, you can put a Linktree link. On that link, you can have multiple links that they can click on. So for example, if you're having your main web page, that's fine. If you've got a link to your open day, you can put that on the link tree. If you want to have a section that says latest articles, so what you'd need to do is every time you wanted to upload a link to a new article, you'd need to go into your link tree and just edit the URL so that on the latest articles section, you can change that link. So you can say in your Instagram caption, so post the picture, do your Instagram caption at the bottom, say to read more of this article, click the link in our bio and go to latest news. So I suggest something similar to that wording, to that effect. Or you can just update your link in your bio each time with a new link, but I'd suggest you try Linktree. It's an absolutely fantastic free tool, and you can direct people to multiple areas of your website and blog posts by doing that. So I should have added that in the homework, but if you've still got a pen and paper out, write down Linktree, and I promise you, you won't regret it.
Brilliant, thank you. I think we've got time for a few more. So would you suggest not using TikTok at all, as someone was thinking about uploading reels when they can?
Yeah, so our view on that at Central Office is, please, we would prefer you do not use TikTok just due to its safety. But as we said, we'd like you to have an account on there. If you're posting reels, you can post that on Instagram. And we'd suggest you stick to Instagram. Also, social media has a funny way of reducing the algorithm when you use one of the platform's tools on another platform. So you'd probably find that your engagement for your reels on TikTok will not be very high because TikTok will know you made them on Instagram and not TikTok. So you're probably defeating the object anyway. So make the reel and you'll probably get more engagement if you stick to Instagram.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think this is probably our last question. One of our schools has got a high reach on Facebook, but they don't get much engagement. Are there any tips on increasing engagement?
So it goes back to what I mentioned at the start of this call. If you were here for when I mentioned that, sometimes you will get a very minimal amount of likes. At the end of the day, schools, we're not gonna be influencers and have thousands and thousands of followers. So sometimes your reach will be higher, and that still is good. It means people are still seeing your posts, but you can think about things like call to action. Ask them at the end to like the post. You can absolutely do that. That's fine. Say, if you like this, like it, or share it with your friends. So suggest a call to action, and think about what you're posting. Are you posting a lot of the same thing? How does it look when you're posting it? What is your language like when you're speaking in your social media posts? Is it engaging? Yeah, have a look at those things, and I'd suggest using a scheduling tool and tracking what gets more likes and what doesn't, just to see, oh, they like this bit more, clearly they like that content more. But make sure you're mixing up your content a little bit. Try and do a video, then the next week do an article, and then do a post. So yeah, just make sure you're keeping up and trying to do different things and experimenting. Thank you for coming. Sorry, I've seen you got to go now. Thank you so much.
And I think as well, you can do a bit of testing on the time of day that you post as well. If you're finding that you're posting on a day that actually people aren't really checking their accounts, that's also going to not provide you with that much engagement. But those scheduling tools are really good at sometimes suggesting when your audience is most likely to engage with your post. So that takes away some of the kind of resource around looking and tracking when your posts are doing well. So that's why getting a scheduling tool is key as well.
Yeah, so some great times to post just generally on social media, but it might be slightly different, but I'll touch on that in a second. So the best times usually to post on social media be between 8 and 9 a.m. because it's when people are scrolling through their phones before work, and then during a lunch break, so between about 12 and about 2, and then after work. So lots of people, when they've come in from work, they've made their dinner, they're sat on the sofa at 8 p.m, they'll be on social media. So what I'd suggest, and again, it's key why scheduling tools are so great. I don't mean you can't ever post organically, because we even do that in Central Office, and sometimes it will come to that. But scheduling tools are great because I don't expect you to be working at 8 p.m. But you can schedule a post to come out at 8 p.m. and then you can track it and see how that did at 8 p.m. compared to 8 a.m. in the morning. Because the only thing is, if your community is mainly parents, they're probably doing the school run at that time of the morning. So you might find the engagement for schools is less then, but experiment, and just keep trying to experiment, because you'll find that certain groups of parents interact with certain things and certain interact with other things. But yeah, mix up your content. Think about, if you were a parent, or if you are a parent, what would you want to see? You'll find a lot of parents just watching throughout the day avidly. Once they realize that you're posting so often on the stories and things like that, they'll be like, oh, I want to see what the school's up to. So yeah, think about what they need, what they want to see. Obviously they need information on there, but they might also just want to see, you know, what's going on in Spanish this week. What part of the curriculum are they doing this week? There's so much opportunity for you for content. So yeah, just think about that. Even if you spend an hour of your week planning, or you pre-plan your content in advance, which I do suggest doing, it takes a little bit of time, but once you've planned it and scheduled it, you can forget about it. So it will save you time in the long run.
Thank you. And I think one last question, because I'm aware that we've run over time. Would you post or repost the same content from one platform to another?
Yeah, so absolutely. If you've got an article that you've wrote about your school, I'd expect you to be posting that at least on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter if you have those accounts. If you've only got Facebook and Twitter, then obviously use those. But you may want to think about how you can change your wording. So each platform responds in a different way. For example, Twitter only has 280 characters, so you'd need to keep it very high level information, as short and snappy as possible. And think about how things look on the page. Avoid massive blocks of text. Don't be afraid of line breaks. Don't speak in too long sentences and words. You might sometimes feel inclined to write really long, complicated words, but people are busy. They don't really have time to read it, and we want them to understand what we're saying. And it goes back to what I said about P2P, people to people. People are people, they want to see what we are, and we're people. So talk to them, friendly, engaging, but just think about how you're altering your text for each platform, because your audience will be ever so slightly different on each of those. So Facebook, longer captions, line breaks, you can say a bit more on there. Twitter will obviously be shorter, so just bear that in mind. But I would expect you to be posting those links on each platform, as much clicks as you can get. And if you've got Google Analytics and you're regularly looking at those, which I do suggest you do, you can see where your traffic is coming from, what's doing the best, and then that will then inform your social media content plan for the year. And you can see where your traffic actually comes from and where they are. So definitely be posting, but just think about what you're saying. Slightly alter your language on each platform just to make it ever so slightly different.
Brilliant, thank you. That was a really comprehensive breakdown for people to get to know their social media platforms better.